The scream ripped through the cabin like a thunderclap, shattering the hum of the engines at 30,000 feet. Jonathan's coffee cup shattered against his tray table, scalding his hand as he jerked upright, heart slamming against his ribs. In the dim glow of the overhead lights, a man's face twisted in rage loomed over him, spit flying. "You think you can just flaunt that filth up here? This is God's country, boy. Not your playground." Jonathan's world tilted as the stranger's fist connected with his jaw, the impact echoing louder than the gasp from the passengers around him. Blood bloomed warm and metallic on his tongue, but it was the venom in the man's eyes, pure, unfiltered hate, that cracked something deep inside him, a fracture he'd spent years patching with quiet pride and New York grit. He didn't fight back, he never did anymore. Not after the bruises that faded slower than the apologies that never came. The flight attendant's voice cut through the chaos like a lifeline, sharp and Midwestern steady. "Sir, step back now, or we're diverting this plane." But Jonathan barely heard her. He slumped against the window, the cold glass pressing into his cheek, watching the endless black sky swallow the stars. 32 years old, running from a life that had chewed him up in Brooklyn's shadowed alleys. And now this cruelty crashing down from the heavens, reminding him that no altitude was high enough to escape the ground's old poisons. The plane from JFK to LAX was supposed to be his reset button. Jonathan Hale had packed one battered duffel, a dog-eared copy of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass, and a fragile hope that California's endless sun could bleach out the gray of his last breakup. He'd been with Marcus for 6 years. 6 years of stolen kisses in dive bars, whispered promises under threadbare sheets, and the constant tightrope walk of a love that the world pretended didn't exist. Marcus had been the bold one, the activist with the megaphone and the rainbow pins, dragging Jonathan to pride marches where the roar of the crowd drowned out the fear. But boldness has a shelf life when rent's due and jobs vanish because cultural fit means something uglier. Marcus left for a fellowship in Berlin, chasing revolutions Jonathan couldn't afford to fund. "It's not goodbye," he'd said, but the door click said otherwise. Now, nursing a swelling jaw in seat 14C, Jonathan felt the old ache flare up, sharper than the pain in his face. The attacker, a burly guy in a trucker hat, reeking of cheap bourbon and entitlement, had been seated 2 rows back, muttering slurs under his breath since takeoff. It started with a glance Jonathan stole at the in-flight magazine's cologne ad. Too long, too appreciative. By the time the beverage cart rolled by, the mutters had escalated to a shove. Then the swing. "Faggot!" The man had snarled, loud enough for the whole economy section to hear. No one moved. No one except the guy in 14B. Austin Reed didn't look like a hero. He was all lean angles and faded band tee. Some indie group Jonathan vaguely recognized from a college radio playlist. His blonde hair cropped short like he'd just shipped out of the Marines. But when the punch landed, Austin was there, unfolding from his seat with the fluid grace of someone who'd seen worse in Fallujah dust bowls. "Hey, easy," he'd said, voice low and even, palm flat against the aggressor's chest. Not pushing, just present. It was enough. The man deflated, red-faced, as the attendant hauled him to the front, promising a chat with the captain about federal charges. Jonathan wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, staring at the smear of red on his skin. "Thanks," he muttered, not meeting Austin's eyes. Heroes made him uncomfortable. They asked questions, expected stories, and Jonathan's story was a half-written novel he wasn't ready to share. Austin shrugged, settling back with a half-smile that crinkled the corners of his hazel eyes. "No big. Name's Austin. You okay?" His drawl was pure Texas panhandle, warm as summer asphalt, but there was an edge to it, guarded, like he'd learned to holster his charm. "Jonathan," he replied, voice thick. "And yeah, just another Tuesday." He forced a laugh, but it came out hollow, echoing the cabin's sudden hush. The other passengers averted their eyes, burying into screens and magazines, the collective relief palpable. Crisis averted, back to your peanuts and rom-coms. Austin didn't buy the bravado. He leaned in, voice dropping. "Look, I've been where you are. Not the plain part, but the rest. If you need to talk, or not, I'm here till we touch down. He pulled a crumpled pack of gum from his pocket, offering a piece like a peace flag. Spearmint. Clears the blood taste. Jonathan took it, their fingers brushing just long enough to spark something electric, a current that hummed louder than the engines. He chewed slowly, the mint sharp against the copper tang, and for the first time since boarding, the knot in his chest loosened a fraction. Outside, clouds parted, revealing the glittering sprawl of the Midwest below. Amber fields and river veins under a bruised purple sky. America, vast and unforgiving, but stitched with hidden kindnesses. The rest of the flight blurred into a tense limbo. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom, announcing a report to authorities upon landing and complimentary vouchers for everyone. Damage control wrapped in corporate politeness. The attacker stayed up front, flanked by crew, his curses muffled but insistent. Jonathan ignored him, sketching absent-minded lines on his napkin. Jagged peaks that might have been mountains, or just the shape of his unraveling nerves. Austin filled the silence with easy anecdotes. Growing up in Amarillo, where football was religion and secrets were currency. Enlisting at 18 because the stars looked bigger from a Humvee. Coming out to his squad in a sandstorm, half expecting bullets but getting backslaps instead. Turns out, hate's louder in the cities, he said, glancing at Jonathan. Out there it's just life. Jonathan nodded, the gum gone to a nub. Brooklyn's a bubble. You fight for every inch, but it bursts easy. He hesitated, then added, Marcus, he was the fighter. I'm the one who patches the leaks. Austin's gaze sharpened, not prying but present. Sounds like he was lucky. Past tense. Yeah. The word hung heavy, and Jonathan surprised himself by elaborating. The late nights Marcus spent at rallies. The way he'd come home electric with purpose, only to crash into arguments about normalcy Jonathan craved. He wanted to burn it all down. I just wanted a mortgage and a dog. Sounded small, said aloud, but Austin didn't judge. Sounds human, Austin replied, simple as that. He pulled out his phone, scrolling to a photo. Him and a golden retriever on a dusty porch, grins wide under a relentless sun. Meet Buddy. My mortgage is a lease on a trailer in Austin. City's got my name but not my heart yet. Chasing screenwriting gigs. You. Graphic designer. Freelance. LAX is job interviews. Or escape. Pick one. Jonathan's laugh was genuine this time. Lighter. The plane dipped into turbulence. A brief rattle. And their knees knocked under the shared armrest. Neither pulled away. By the time the wheels kissed tarmac at LAX, the cabin lights were up, and Jonathan's jaw throbbed in rhythm with his pulse. Austin walked him through customs. Well, the baggage claim shuffle shoulder to shoulder, a buffer against the crowd's indifferent press. You pressing charges? Austin asked, as they waited for the carousel. Jonathan shrugged, watching suitcases tumble like confessions. Maybe. Feels pointless. Like yelling into wind. Not pointless if it sticks. Austin's tone brooked no argument. He scribbled his number on a napkin scrap, the same napkin Jonathan had doodled on, and pressed it into his palm. Call if you change your mind, or want tacos. I'm in town a week. The hug was impulse. Jonathan's arms around Austin's waist, brief but fierce, the scent of cedar cologne and clean cotton lingering. Thanks for the gum, he said, pulling back. Austin's smile was slow, knowing. Any time, John. Outside, the California air hit like a promise. Dry heat laced with ocean salt, palm shadows stretching long under sodium lamps. Jonathan hailed a cab, the napkin clutched in his fist, and as the plane's roar faded behind him, he wondered if justice was the report filed in some LAX office, or the stranger who'd made the sky feel a little less infinite. But justice, it turned out, had sharper teeth. 2 days later, Jonathan's phone buzzed with a news alert. Homophobic assault on United Flight 472. Passenger identified as Texas State Senator's aide. The man's face, redder now in mugshot grain, stared back, his bourbon breath replaced by handcuffs. Twitter was ablaze, hashtags like Justice at 30K trending from coast to coast. Austin texted, saw the news, knew he was slimy. Tacos tonight? Jonathan smiled, the bruise fading to yellow. Maybe the ground held more lifelines than he'd thought. The tacos were at a hole in the wall on Sunset, the kind of place where the salsa burned holy and the mariachi playlist looped like a heartbeat. Jonathan arrived early, nerves jangling like loose change, the napkin number now saved under Austin, Sky Hero, in his contacts. He'd spent the afternoon in a sterile conference room, pitching logo concepts for a queer-owned startup. Clean lines, bold colors, a nod to Stonewall without the scars. The clients loved it. He pocketed a deposit that felt like armor. Austin slid into the booth across from him, fresh from a callback audition. His tee swapped for a Henley that hugged his shoulders just right. Barkeep's warning. The Al Pastr'll ruin you for life, he said, signaling the waiter with a grin that lit the dim space. They ordered carnitas for Jonathan, veggie for Austin, because Buddy's got me soft on meat. And the conversation flowed like the margarita salt-rimmed and sharp. Austin talked about his script, a coming-of-age tale set in the oil fields, where the protagonist grapples with faith and first love under refinery flares. It's semi-auto, he admitted, tracing the condensation on his glass. Dad was a preacher. Mom, the organist. Me, the queer black sheep who quoted Brokeback at the dinner table. Jonathan leaned in, the booth's vinyl creaking. Quoting Brokeback? Bold. I would have gone with Whitman. I am he that walks with the tender and growing night. Austin's eyes lit, hazel flecking gold in the neon glow. Poet, huh? Figures. You got that quiet storm vibe. He paused, fork midway to his plate. Tell me about Marcus. If it's not fresh cuts. It wasn't not entirely. The words spilled easy over chips and guac. The rooftop parties in Bushwick where Marcus danced like he was daring the skyline. The hospital vigil after a hate crime rally turned ugly. Marcus's ribs cracked but spirit unbroken. The slow poison of distance. Marcus's calls from Berlin laced with idealism Jonathan couldn't match. He said I was holding him back. Said I was scared of the fight. Were you? Austin's question was gentle, no judgment in the tilt of his head. Jonathan poked at his tacos, steam curling like ghosts. Yeah, still am. Brooklyn's got its wars, but LAX feels like starting over naked. Austin nodded, chewing thoughtfully. Fear's the real altitude sickness. It's hardest when you're falling. He reached across, thumb brushing Jonathan's knuckles. A touch so casual it stole Jonathan's breath. But you've got landing gear, John. Saw it on that plane. The night stretched, plates cleared, and they wandered out into the boulevard's electric hum. Tourists snapping selfies, buskers strumming Dylan covers, the walk of fame stars winking underfoot like fallen promises. Austin's hand found Jonathan's in the crosswalk, fingers lacing firm, and no one stared. In LA, holding hands was just another scene, not a statement. They ended up at Griffith Observatory, the city sprawling below like a circuit board lit for Judgment Day. Austin leaned on the railing, wind tousling his hair. Wrote a scene here once. Two guys, post-breakup, staring at the stars till dawn. One says, "The universe doesn't care about our mess." The other replies, "Good. Makes room for mercy." Jonathan's throat tightened. Cheesy, but true. He stepped closer, shoulder to Austin's, the heat of him an anchor in the chill. Their first kiss was tentative, lips brushing tentative, tasting of lime and possibility. Then deepening, hands cupping jaws, the world narrowing to heartbeat and hush. Back at Jonathan's Airbnb, a cramped bungalow in Silver Lake, all exposed beams and eucalyptus whiff. They moved slow, mapping each other with whispers and wonder. No rush, no conquest. Just the quiet unraveling of guards, skin to skin under thread-count sheets that smelled of lavender detergent. Austin traced the scar on Jonathan's hip from a bike crash in Prospect Park. Murmuring, "Story." Jonathan told it, laughing at the memory, and Austin kissed the mark like absolution. Morning brought coffee black and strong, sunlight slanting through blinds like golden bars. Austin lingered, scrolling job listings on his phone while Jonathan sketched at the kitchen table. Rough outlines of a man against stars, heroism in pencil strokes. "Stay the week," Jonathan asked, casual as cream in his mug. Thought you'd never ask. Austin's grin was sunrise. But mercy, like altitude, has drop-offs. The week blurred into additions for Austin. Client calls for Jonathan. Evenings tangled in laughter and late-night drives up the Pacific Coast Highway. Windows down. Radio crooning Springsteen. They hiked Runyon Canyon at dawn. Buddy's photo propped on the dash like a talisman. Austin promising to fly him out soon. Family, he said one night, head on Jonathan's chest, is what you build when blood runs dry. Jonathan believed it, let himself fall. Until the email from Marcus. In LA for a conference. Coffee? Miss your face. The cafe was in West Hollywood. All chrome and exposed brick. The kind of spot where influencers nursed lattes like lifelines. Marcus looked the same. Curls wilder, eyes fiercer, Berlin tan fading to city pallor. John, he said, pulling him into a hug that smelled of patchouli and regret. God, you look good. California agrees. They talked surface at first, work, weather, the flight incident making headlines. Saw the news, Marcus said, pride edging his voice. Kicking ass as always. But the undercurrent pulled. The old rhythm, easy as breathing, Marcus leaning in with that activist fire, railing against the senator's aide as the system's canary in the coal mine. You're still fighting, Jonathan said, stirring his Americano. It wasn't a question. Marcus's laugh was bitter. Someone has to. You bailed. Remember, the words landed soft, but they stung, reopening the scar. I didn't bail. I survived. Jonathan's voice held steady, but his grip tightened on the mug. He mentioned Austin then, testing the waters, casual like mentioning a roommate. Marcus's brow arched, interest sharpening. Sounds solid. Bring him to the panel tomorrow. It's on queer visibility in media. Austin's a writer? Perfect. Jonathan hesitated. Austin had a callback that day, nerves frayed from rejection stacking like bad bets. But Marcus's world was a gravitational pull, and Jonathan, fool that he was, texted. Panel tonight? Marcus hosting. Up for it? Austin's reply, hell yeah. For you. The auditorium at USC buzzed with purpose. Posters for divestment campaigns. Rainbow flags draping the stage like battle banners. Marcus commanded the mic. Voice booming through spotlights. Weaving stats on hate crimes with calls to action that had the crowd on their feet. Jonathan watched from the third row, Austin's knee pressed to his, a quiet anchor. Then the betrayal unfurled, slow as a slow-motion crash. During Q&A, a moderator called on Austin. The screenwriter in the house? Thoughts on narrative as resistance? Austin stood, clearing his throat, and launched into a monologue that echoed Marcus's script. Oil fields, forbidden love, mercy under stars. Too close, too verbatim. Marcus's eyes narrowed from the stage, then widened in recognition. Post-panel, in the green room's fluorescent glare, it erupted. You stole my outline, Marcus accused, voice low thunder. Sent it to me last year, begging for notes. And now you're pitching it as yours. Austin paled, hazel eyes flicking to Jonathan. I reworked it. Credit was always yours. I swear. Liar. Marcus turned to Jonathan, betrayal twisting his features. You knew? Brought him here to rub it in. No, Jonathan started, but the room spun, words failing. He'd seen Austin's laptop open once, files named after Marcus's stories, but dismissed it as inspiration, not theft. Naivety, his old foe. Security escorted Marcus out, muttering about lawsuits, leaving Jonathan and Austin in the wreckage. It was research, Austin pleaded outside, under sodium lamps buzzing like accusations. I changed names, Arcs. He ghosted me after one email. Ghosted? Or called you out? Jonathan's voice cracked, the canyon hike's warmth turning to ash. You used me to get close to him. Austin reached, but Jonathan stepped back. John, please. I fell for you, not the script. The cab ride home was silent, tears hot on Jonathan's cheeks, the city lights blurring to streaks. Betrayal at ground level hurt deeper than any mid-air punch. because this one came wrapped in trust. Days bled into a gray haze, LAX perpetual smog mirroring the fog in Jonathan's chest. He canceled client meetings, sketches piling untouched on the bungalow's scarred oak table. Half-formed mountains, now jagged accusations. Austin's texts stacked like unanswered prayers. Talk to me. It wasn't like that. Then, radio silence, Jonathan's thumb hovering over block before mercy stayed his hand. Marcus called once, voice contrite over voicemail. Heard from a friend. You're hurting. Didn't mean to nuke your thing. Coffee again? Clear the air. Jonathan deleted it, the patchouli ghost too fresh. Work dragged him upright eventually. A Rush logo for a film fest, deadlines like lifelines. The office was in Culver City, all glass walls and kombucha taps. His new boss, a no-nonsense dyke named Riley, who eyed his fading bruise with a nod. Heard about the flight. You need time, take it. But don't let assholes rewrite your story. Her words stuck, a splinter of light. That night, Jonathan drove to the observatory alone, the city a glittering apology below. He texted Riley, "Story's mine. What's next?" Her reply, "Pitch deck due Friday. Bring your A game." Austin, meanwhile, vanished into LA's underbelly. Callback lost, agent ghosting, the script now toxic. He crashed on a buddy's couch in Echo Park, nights scrolling Jonathan's Instagram. A new sketch of tangled vines breaking through concrete, captioned "Growth hurts." It gutted him, the theft a stupid shortcut born of desperation. Marcus's outline had come via a writer's forum, anonymous at first, then a flirty DM exchange that fizzled when Austin admitted he was green. He'd tweaked it, poured his soul in, but the bones were borrowed. Pride had blinded him to the debt. He drove by the bungalow once, taillights flaring in the dusk, but the porch light was off, curtains drawn. "Idiot," he muttered to the dash. Buddy's photo watching judgmentally from the visor. Texas called. Amarillo's flat forgiveness, but LA had hooked him, or rather Jonathan had. Those green eyes like sea glass, the way he laughed mid-sentence, vulnerable and vast. The call came from an unexpected vector. The flight incident's fallout. A producer from GLAAD reached out. Austin's name had surfaced in the news. His intervention on the plane painted heroic in viral clips. "We're doing a docu short on resilience," the voice said. Crisp New York. "Your story fits. And hey, that screenwriter angle? Gold." Austin met them at a cafe in Silver Lake, the same strip where he'd kissed Jonathan under string lights. The pitch flowed, his military coming out, the plane punch as metaphor, the script as redemption arc. "It's about mercy," he said, voice steady for the first time in weeks. "Not just surviving hate, but forgiving the gray in between." They bit, greenlit a treatment. Elation hit like altitude rush, but it soured quick, without Jonathan's spark. The words on the page felt hollow, echoes of stolen fire. Jonathan, fortifying his walls, threw into work. The Film Fest logo landed a referral. A queer bookstore in West Hollywood needed rebranding, shelves sagging with tales of love's labor. He met the owner, a silver-haired widow named Elena, over chamomile in her back room, surrounded by dog-eared Auden and Baldwin. "You're healing," she said, eyeing his sketches. Rainbow spines weaving into an open book, pages fluttering free. "Pain's the best ink." He nodded, throat tight. "Lost someone. Again." "Loss is a thief," Elena replied, patting his hand. "But it leaves room for found." That night, scrolling news, Jonathan stumbled on the senator's aid trial. Guilty plea, community service, a $10,000 fine that felt like a slap. Justice, swift but shallow. He texted Austin, impulse overriding ache. Saw the verdict. "You were right, sticks if you let it." The reply came instant. "Can we talk?" "Park by the lake. Tomorrow." Sunrise found them on a bench by the reservoir, mist curling off water like cigarette smoke. Austin looked wrecked, stubble shadowing his jaw, Henley rumpled, but his eyes held steady, no evasion. "I fucked up," he started, no preamble. "The script, Marcus's bones, my flesh. I was starving, John. Additions dry, savings gone. Thought I could build on it, credit later. Pride made me stupid. Jonathan stared at the ripples, ducks quacking indifference. It wasn't just the script. You brought me into it. Like I was collateral. Austin winced, deserved. No. You were the why. That flight? Seeing you take that hit, not breaking. I wrote the whole damn thing in my head right there. Mercy. Remember? You showed me it. Silence stretched, heavy as the dew on the bench. Jonathan's fingers twitched, wanting to reach, recoiling from the burn. I loved you, he said, voice raw. Fast. Stupid fast. Past tense. Austin's whisper cracked. Not sure. Jonathan turned. Green meeting hazel. The air between them charged like pre-storm. Show me it's not another outline. Austin did, slow, with truths unspooled. The forum DM screenshots, deleted in shame. The rewrite logs time-stamped pre-flight. The night he almost called Marcus to confess, but chose Jonathan's laugh instead. You're not a plot point. You're the goddamn horizon. The kiss was fracture-mending, tentative then torrent, hands fisting shirts, breaths mingling mist. Not forgiveness full, but a foothold. They walked the path after, shoulders brushing, ducks scattering like doubts. Weeks knit them tentative. Austin's docu short filming, Jonathan's bookstore gig blooming into murals. Walls alive with lovers' silhouettes, hands entwined against urban grit. Marcus emailed once more, apology laced with plugs for his next rally, but Jonathan archived it, choosing quiet over quake. One evening, post-wrap on set, Austin showed up at the bungalow with takeout and a manila envelope. For you, he said, shy grin belying the weight. Inside, script pages, title Mercy at Mach 1, dedication crisp, for Jonathan, my landing gear. The story sang, oil fields to skies, hate's punch to love's pull, gray forgiven in golden hour. Co-write the end? Austin asked, vulnerability bare. Jonathan pulled him close, pages scattering like confetti. Deal. But no betrayals in the sequel. Laughter bubbled, free. And in that moment, LA's sprawl felt small, conquerable. A canvas for their rewrite. But climaxes climb before they crest. The docu premiered at Outfest, a whirlwind of red carpet and rhetoric. Jonathan's arm looped in Austin's, flashes popping like fireworks. Marcus was there, paneled earlier, his speech a firebrand call to arms. Post-screening, in the lobby's crush, their eyes locked. Old lover, new, the triangle tightening. You too, Marcus said, clapping Austin's shoulder a beat too long. Killing it. Scripts got my DNA, proud. The barb landed subtle, but Jonathan felt it, the old fracture flexing. Austin stiffened, but played cool. Appreciate the roots. Grew my own branches. Later, in the hotel bar, champagne fizzing, crowd thinning. Marcus cornered Jonathan by the jukebox, Springsteen crooning low. He's using you, he murmured, eyes earnest. Saw the production notes. Your flight story? He's centering it. Your pain, his plot. Jonathan's stomach nodded. It's ours. Shared. Is it? Marcus's hand on his arm, warm with memory. Come back to the fight, John. Real change, not Hollywood gloss. The seed planted, doubts weed. That night, in the suite's king bed, Austin sensed the shift. Jonathan distant, touches mechanical. What's eating you? He asked, propping on elbow, sheets pooling white. Nothing. Lie bitter on tongue. Austin's sigh was world-weary. Marcus. The dam cracked. Jonathan spilled. The lobby whisper. The fear that Austin's mercy was mined from his marrow, repackaged for reals. Am I your muse or your material? Austin sat up, hurt flashing. Christ, John. It's us. The plane, the tacos, that's the heart. Not some exploitation flick. Prove it. The words escaped, challenge laced with plea. I will. Austin grabbed his laptop, pulling up the final cut. Clips of their canyon hike, blurred faces but unmistakable hands. Jonathan's laugh dubbed over narration, voice cracking on resilience. See? Partners, not props. Tears pricked, relief warring with residue. They made love then, fierce and affirming. reclaiming space inch by inch. Dawn found them tangled, city humming approval. The betrayal's echo lingered, a low hum under their rhythm, but Jonathan chose belief, watered it with time, watched it grow thorns into roses. Austin's doku buzzed, festival nods stacking like poker chips, but he pulled back from the spotlight, insisting Jonathan co-sign talks. Your story sparked it. We tell it tandem. They moved in together, sort of a sublet in Los Feliz, all mid-century angles and avocado tree in the yard. Buddy arrived via cargo, a whirlwind of tail wags and slobber, claiming the couch as throne. Mornings were coffee and collabs. Jonathan inking character designs for Austin's feature pitch, lines flowing from their shared dreams. L.A. unfolded kinder, brunches at the Oaks with Riley and her wife, hikes where Buddy chased squirrels like old grudges. Marcus faded to a Facebook flicker, his rallies live-streamed but unwatched. Until the call, Elena, voice quaver over speaker. Bookstores in trouble, John. Lease hike, corporate vultures. Launch party for your murals tomorrow, but might be the last. Jonathan's gut twisted. The murals. 6 walls of watercolor lovers, embracing through riots and rain. Where his soul splashed public, Elena's trust the canvas. We'll save it, he vowed, hanging up, fire kindling. Austin overheard, hazel eyes alight. Crowd fund? Or go big, tie it to the doku. Visibility sells. The idea ignited. Outfest Afterglow meant contacts. A gala fundraiser pitched as art against erasure. Invites flew. Producers, activists, even a reluctant Marcus looped in via Elena's nudge. For the cause, she texted. Peace offering. Prep was frenzy. Jonathan curating prints, Austin scripting MC bits, Buddy supervising with chew toys. Rehearsal night. In the bookstore's back room amid stacked tomes, tension simmered. Marcus arrived early, bearing donor checks and a bottle of Malbec. Truce? He asked, cork popping like a question mark. Jonathan accepted the glass, wariness thawing to wary warmth. For Elena. The 3 of them, old flame, new fire, the man in between, hashed logistics over wine, laughter bubbling tentative. Marcus regaled with Berlin tales, minus the barbs. Austin countered with script snippets, crediting Marcus's inspo outright. By bottle's end, the air cleared, a fragile triad forged in goodwill. Gala night glittered. WeHo's rooftop venue, skyline winking complicity, donors in sequins and slacks milling under string lights. Elena's speech cracked hearts. These walls held our stories. Let's keep them standing. And bids soared, murals fetching 5 figures. Jonathan and Austin took the stage for a clip reel. Plain chaos to bookstore bloom, narration weaving their voices seamless. Marcus emceed after, mic in hand, charisma crackling. To Jonathan, he toasted, eyes locking meaningful. Who taught me love's quiet revolutions. The crowd awed, but Austin's jaw tightened beside Jonathan. The old jealousy a flicker. Post-event, champagne high fading, Marcus pulled Austin aside in the valet line. Good work tonight, but let's talk sequel, your feature. I've got Berlin Connects. Co-write? Austin hesitated, glory's lure tugging. Appreciate it, man. But John and I, partners, Marcus finished, clap on shoulder. He deserves the best version of you. Uncompromised. The seed. Replanted. Austin mulled it on the drive home, Buddy snoring in back. What if? He ventured, hand on Jonathan's thigh. Berlin collab. 6 months. We'd bankroll the feature. Come back kings. Jonathan's grip on the wheel whitened. 6 months? After everything. It's opportunity. For us. Austin's plea rang earnest, but doubts we choked it. The fight erupted at dawn. Words weaponized. Insecurities unloaded. You're chasing his shadow again, Jonathan accused, voice echoing off stucco walls. Using me as your anchor while you sail. That's not. Austin started, but frustration flared. You hold back, John. Always patching, never building. Marcus fights, you survive. The slap of truth stung worse than any bruise. Jonathan stormed out, keys jangling, leaving Austin with the silence and the dog's bewildered whine. He drove aimlessly, PCH's curve-hugging cliffs, ocean vast and verdictless. Hours later, at the observatory, stars indifferent, his phone lit with voicemails. Austin's, raw apology. Elena's, fundraiser success. Marcus's, heard the row. Space if you need. Betrayal's second wave. Not theft, but temptation, the pull of what-ifs, the fracture of futures. Jonathan sat till numb, then texted Austin. Need air. Don't wait up. But waiting was Austin's vigil. He paced the sublette, script pages curling in fists, Buddy nosing for comfort. The Doka's producer called Berlin Buzz, a co-pro invite, but Austin declined voice steal. Stateside only. Personal arc. Morning brought olive branch. Breakfast burritos on the porch, Austin's eyes red-rimmed. I said ugly things. You're not surviving, you're thriving. My rock. He slid a folder across. Revised treatment, Jonathan's input woven deep. No Marcus mentions. This is us. No shortcuts. Jonathan chewed slow, salt and spice grounding. Berlin. Stays a ghost. Austin's hand covered his, steady. You're my horizon. Forgiveness, round 2, tasted bittersweet. But they savored it, rebuilding brick by deliberate brick. Fall deepened. Leaves turning copper under LA's reluctant chill. The bookstore thrived, Elena's shelves groaning with new releases. Jonathan's murals a pilgrimage site for tour buses. Austin's feature greenlit. Indie studio bite. Principal photography slated for spring. They celebrated with a road trip. Vegas detour, slots and shows, then Zion's Red Rock cathedrals. Buddy leashed and ecstatic. There, under Slot Canyon's hush, Austin proposed not ring but promise. Marry the mess? He asked, on one knee in dust, grin crooked. Vows, vows, the whole schmear. Jonathan pulled him up. Kiss ceiling. Yes, but elope. Justice of the peace, no fanfare. Deal. Laughter echoed off stone. Love's acoustics pure. Climax brewed subtle. A tabloid leak. Marcus's doing or Malice's whim. Headlines screaming, Flight Heroes Stolen Heart. Screenwriters betrayal exposed. Clips resurfaced. Twisted. Austin's intervention spun as publicity stunt. Their romance, damage control. Hate mail flooded. Austin's inbox slurs. Jonathan's DMs venom. Protests at the studio. Pickets chanting thief. Glad distanced, the indie backpedaled funding. The fracture peaked in their kitchen. Rain lashing windows like judgment. It's him, Austin growled. Phone shattering against tile. Marcus. Stirring shit for relevance. Jonathan, calmer but cracked. Shook head. Doesn't matter. It's us they hate. We fight. Austin's eyes searched, desperate. Or fold. The question hung, by karma's edge. They chose fight, not fists, but fortitude. Oppressor at the bookstore. Elena moderating, murals backdrop, Buddy mascot. Jonathan spoke first. Cruelty lands hard, but love? It sticks. Austin followed, script in hand. Stories aren't stolen. They're shared. This one's ours, flaws and all. The crowd, supporters, skeptics, leaned in. Marcus arrived late, uninvited. Mike thrust his way. I misspoke, he admitted, voice-breaking broadcast. Jealousy blinded me. These guys? Heroes. Real ones. Applause thundered, walls shaking. Cameras captured the trio's nod truce. Not triumph, but healing's start. Winter wrapped LA in rare mercy. Cool snaps and citrus blooms. The sublet's fireplace crackling nightly. The presser's ripple washed clean. Funding restored. Headlines shifting to love wins. Queer couples stand. Glad awarding Ally of the Year to the bookstore. Jonathan and Austin leaned into the light, but warily. Therapy sessions unpacking betrayals like old luggage. Dr. Lena's couch a neutral ground. You're codependent on chaos, she noted once. Glasses perched. Thrives you, but tires. They nodded, hands linked, committing to calm. Date night sans drama, weekends unplugged. Buddy approved, fetch sessions in the hills his ballot. Spring bloomed shoots. Principal photography kicked off in the valley, Austin directing cameos, Jonathan as best friend, Rye lines landing gold. Rap party was low-key, backyard bash with Elena's empanadas, Riley DJing queer anthems. Marcus sent a card, proud from afar, Berlin's lonely without your fire. Jonathan framed it, beside Buddy's paw print, reminders, not regrets. Wedding day dawned hazy, July heat already pressing. Justice of the peace in a canyon chapel, all wood beams and wildflowers, 6 guests max. Elena matron of honor, Riley officiant, Buddy ringbearer in bow tie. Vows were Whitman infused, Austin's, I celebrate myself, and you, Jonathan's we too, the roots of one tree. Rings exchanged simple tungsten, etched with coordinates of that 30,000-foot-mile marker. Kiss sealed, crowd whooping, the canyon's echo a blessing. Honeymoon was road triple redux. Big Sur's cliffs, fog-kissed drives, motels with ocean views. They talked futures, adoption maybe, a house with yard for Buddy's twilight years, Austin's Oscar pipe dream, Jonathan's gallery show. Human stuff, Jonathan murmured one night, head on Austin's chest, waves crashing lullaby. Best kind. But humanism's arc bends toward complexity, not closure. Fall brought the feature's release. Mercy at Mach 1 premiered at TIFF, standing O's and bids from streamers. Critics raved, a tender gut punch, love as altitude adjustment. But whispers followed. Marcus's Berlin op-ed, borrowed wings. When inspiration crosses lines, subtle shade casting long shadows. Austin weathered it, panel after panel defending. Art's a mosaic, pieces from everywhere. Credit where due, but the picture's mine. Jonathan stood sentinel, interviews tag-teaming, their unity the rebuttal. Homefront, though cracks spidered. Late shoots left Austin hollow-eyed, Jonathan's freelance booming but isolating. Nights alone with sketches and silence. Miss us, Jonathan confessed over takeout, fork-pushing peas. Austin nodded, guilt-etching lines. Tour's killing me, but it's our shot. Ours? The word twanged, old wounds flexing. Fight number 3. Not explosive, but erosion, accusations of neglect, defenses of necessity. You're fading, Jonathan said, voice small. Like Marcus did. Austin reeled, the comparison a gut shot. I'm building, not burning. For us. Feels like solo flight. Tears then, rare for Jonathan, splashing script pages. Austin held him through it, promises renewed. Scaled back promo, therapy double-ups. Dr. Lena mediated. Boundaries, boys. Love's not a solo climb. They redrew maps, weekly check-ins, no phone dinners. Buddy mediated, head in laps, drool diplomacy. Climax crested unexpected. Austin's invite to the Oscars. Nom for adapted screenplay, underdog buzz electric. Red carpet frenzy, tuxes tailored, Jonathan's nerves jangling like jewelry. Just be, Austin whispered pre-show, kiss backstage fierce. The ceremony blurred glamour and grind. Speeches on solidarity, montages of grit. When Mercy won, Austin's name boomed. He froze stage-bound, then pulled Jonathan up unscripted. This is ours. John, my co-pilot, you landed me. Cheers erupted, cameras capturing the kiss. Tender, triumphant. Marcus texted from abroad. Well earned. Love wins. Backstage, confetti raining, Austin sank to knees, not proposal redux but reckoning. I almost lost you to my ambition. Won't again. Jonathan hauled him up, brow to brow. We land together. Always. The after-party swirled. Champagne toasts, power brokers pitching sequels. But they slipped out early. Limo to the hills. City lights a farewell fanfare. At the observatory, full circle, the stars wheeled witness. You know, Austin said, arm around Jonathan's waist, Buddy's leash loose in hand. Cruelty dropped us here. But justice? It's this. Jonathan leaned in, green eyes reflecting cosmos. Us, human as hell. And in that vast American night, from Brooklyn grit to LA glow, punches to promises. Their story settled. not ended. A tapestry of fractures mended, loves layered, mercy the thread holding true. Epilogue whispered in quiet years. The house bought, crib waiting for the kid from foster care. Austin's Oscar on the mantel beside Jonathan's gallery plaque. Marcus visiting once, uncle to their chaos. Bridges rebuilt in baby steps. Cruelty at 30,000 feet. A footnote, faded as bruises. Justice landed soft, in laughter lines and linked hands. A life written in full, no pages torn. Yet stories like skies shift unbidden. 5 years post-Oscar, the arc bent anew. Subtle at first, a tremor in Austin's laugh, shadows under hazel eyes. The townhouse in Los Feliz hummed domestic. Toddler Theo's blocks scattering floors, Buddy's gray muzzle nudging breakfast bowls. Jonathan's studio spilling sketches onto walls. Austin's follow-up film tanked, studio notes gutting soul. Critics calling it derivative. And the drought hit hard, additions drying to dust. "You're enough," Jonathan murmured nightly, Theo asleep between them, small fist clutching Austin's shirt. But doubt's worm burrowed, whispering stolen in quiet hours. The call came from Berlin. Marcus, voice crackling transatlantic. Directing gig, queer ensemble, your vibe. Co-credit. Come build. Austin hung up, temptation a low boil. He didn't tell Jonathan. Not at first. Nights pacing the deck, city sprawl mocking his stall. Discovery hit domestic brutal. Jonathan finding the email chain in Austin's laptop. Open tab like accusation. "Berlin?" he asked, voice even. Theo napping oblivious. Austin deflated. No defenses left. "It's a lifeline. For us? Theo's college, your show. My show thrives. We thrive." Jonathan's hurt carved deep. Or not. The fracture this time was seismic, not fight but fracture. Austin left for a retreat. Crashing at Riley's, days blurring to weeks. Jonathan held fort. Theo's questions answered in half-truths. Daddy's adventuring. Back soon. But soon stretched, Berlin's pull magnetic. Austin arrived jet-lagged. Marcus's flat a minimalist cage. Views of spree, scripts stacking like sins. One film, he vowed to himself. But the set's energy hooked. Actors electric, Marcus's vision vast. Letters home, emails, really painted postcards. Theo's drawing arrived. "Miss your lines." Jonathan's replies shortened, edges sharpening. Theo asks for trucks. "Send video." Halfway through principle, the betrayal crested. Not Austin's, but fate's. A car crash on set wrap. Grips rig collapsing. Shrapnel slicing Austin's leg. Marcus pinned under beams. Chaos. Ambulances wailing. Blood and bilingual shouts. Jonathan flew economy. Theo with Elena. Landing in rain-slick Berlin. Hospital sterile and stark. Austin bandaged. Marcus in ICU. Concussion, fractures but breathing. "You're here?" Austin whispered, gripping Jonathan's hand. IVs dripping syncopated. "Always land." Jonathan's kiss was salt sting, relief raw. Marcus woke days later, groggy grins. "Karma's a bitch. Saved my ass. Pushed me clear." Gratitude laced his rasp. "Stay. Finish the film. For old times." Austin looked to Jonathan, question silent. The choice. Solo glory or shared ground. They talked in whispers, hospital coffee bitter as regret. "Go," Jonathan said, surprising them both. "Finish what you started. I'll hold here with him if needed. Human stuff." Austin's eyes welled. "You sure?" "Trusts the real altitude. We fly tandem." Austin directed from wheelchair. Jonathan producing cameos. Theo's voiceover. Lisped lines, charming cuts. Marcus mentored, no shadows. "You two?" Endgame. Rap party was subdued, sausages and solidarity. Berlin's wall scars a backdrop. Austin dedicated the dailies to fractures that fortify. Homecoming was heroes, not hollow. Theo tackling Austin at LAX. Buddy's tale a blur. The film premiered Berlin Fest, standing love amid critiques kind. Box office modest, but impact vast. Festivals worldwide. Talks on resilience renewed. In quiet aftermath, Austin shuttered the laptop, turning to teaching UCLA night classes, mentoring queers with scripts and scars. Jonathan's gallery expanded, walls whispering their tale in oils and inks. Theo grew, asking once, crayon in fist, "Daddy Austin save Uncle Marcus?" Austin knelt, "I level." We all did. Love's the save. Nights, porch swings creaking, Jonathan and Austin traced constellations. Old scars like Braille, stories etched in starlight. Cruelty's punch, distant thunder. Justice, not a landing, but the flight. Turbulent, tender. Theirs. Humanism's close. No tidy bows, but threads woven whole. Betrayals to bonds, skies to soil. In America's vast quilt, from jet streams to canyons, they carved space, unbreaking, unbroken.